So when your best friend says you need to have a disclaimer in the beginning of your podcast because the lawyer in her is screaming, you do it. Here's my disclaimer. I am not a doctor. I am not a therapist. I am not even an expert. I am you. I am bringing information to you as I see it. But don't take my advice. Make your own choices and make them good choices. On with the show.
Welcome to the podcast where we talk about cannabis.
Community violation. Code Green Plant.
Hello, and welcome to Code Green Plant, my solo series. This is going to be called Simply Vibin' Good Choices. So let's just roll with that and see how that flows. You never know where we'll end up, but I like it for now. All right, so I had talked to you guys last Friday about breast cancer, Suzanne Summers. Right after I filmed that episode, I got up because I do get up every morning and look into cannabis. That's my job. That's what I do every single day to see the latest things that are out there. And lo and behold, an article jumped out at me about breast cancer and cannabis. I mean, how could you even plan that? That was just like perfect. Like, I'm supposed to share this education with you. Now, I'm not going to read this article because, as I've told you before, these words are huge. All right. So I can't necessarily bring it down to the level of understanding what these scientific words mean. So I'm going to try to tell you in my own words instead of reading you this and not understanding it. So from what I understand from this passage, there is a good mixture of cannabinoids, two in particular, that can help fight breast cancer. And that is the main thing to take away from this article. And this is just the beginning stages. So this is huge, and this is powerful, and this is just the beginning. So I'm going to read you just a couple of parts. Okay. So the article comes from Lebanese American University. The title is The Combination of CBD and THC Isolated from the Lebanese Cannabis Sativa Experts' Anti-Cancer Effects in Breast Cancer Cells. And it says it's by Maria Younes. This was done in May 2023. On the abstract paragraph, I'm just going to read a couple lines from that. Cannabis sativa L, parentheses, C sativa, is a medicinal plant that has been used for at least 1,800 years, according to ancient writings. Extensive studies were conducted to determine the full extent of its therapeutic potential. Among several compounds detected, THC and CBD are the most thoroughly investigated compounds. Absolutely, I totally agree with that. In this study, they aim to investigate the anti-cancer activity of the cannabinoid mixtures. And these are isolated from the Lebanese C sativa plant. I've never even heard of the Lebanese C sativa plant. So I definitely need to do more investigating into that plant because it sounds pretty amazing. Let's see. So I'm going to skip all the sciencey stuff and let's scroll down to the bottom. In conclusion, our study demonstrates the promising therapeutic benefits of CBD and THC isolated from the Lebanese C sativa plant in breast cancer cells in vitro. The key word, promising. So I was pretty excited to share that with you. As soon as I saw it, I was like, I gotta tell you guys. I get geeked out when it comes to this kind of stuff because I can see the potential that's about to happen. I hope you get just as excited as I am on it. I also wanted to share some of my, everybody knows I talk about cannabis. And that can come with a stigma where people are like, oh, I never knew Christy Chanel was a pothead. I never knew Christy smoked weed and got stoned. And, it's like, yeah, okay, I don't care what you think of me, but I kind of have to because I'm a parent. And I have to make sure that I don't do anything stupid to get my kid taken away from me. My other two, I have three. So my two of them are old enough to make their own decisions, but one of them is still 15, and I need to be very conscious of what I say, how I say it, and what I'm talking about. Everyone that watches, everyone that knows me personally knows I am the furthest thing from a drug addict, but that connotation automatically happens when you hear I talk about cannabis all the time. It is much more than that. It is much more than getting high. It is about alternatives. It is about choices. So yeah, I worry about that. I worry about people thinking this of me. I worry about CPS. I worry about all those things, even though I feel like I'm a good mother. Being a parent and loving cannabis and loving the medicinal side of cannabis puts me in direct view, and everyone knows where I stand. So if the community that you live in has a stigmatized view of cannabis, they're going to have a stigmatized view of me. They go together. I also have a 15-year-old, and his reputation matters to me as well. So I was doing a lot of TikToks. I was sharing a lot of TikToks, and I was following my son Trevor and his TikToks. And then one day he's like, Mom, yeah, I don't want you to follow or tag or do anything like that because I don't want people to see that you are talking about cannabis. Gotta respect that. I have to respect that. I mean, he doesn't want that. So now I'm like, okay, so he has an opinion, because he's been raised in a school system that also feels that way about cannabis. So it's just this cycle that's happening. He has me, so of course I'm going to give him every side of it. And he knows me. He knows that I'm not just sitting there stoned every single day. He knows that I have a mission. He knows what that mission is. But a young mind, this wasn't this year that this happened with him. A young mind doesn't necessarily understand that, nor do they care. They just want their mom to be normal. They want their mom to just make sure they're taken care of and to love them and nurture them, but not really stand out in a crowd. They just want to kind of fit in at that age. So I respect it. I absolutely respect it. Another place that I can't promote or do Simply Vibin' or Code Green Plant is LinkedIn. Do you know how many times I've heard LinkedIn is the place to be? You got to post, you got to make your connections. Well, I also have my corporate job on there, and that can impact them because of the stigmatized view of cannabis. Yeah, so I don't post on LinkedIn anymore. I can't. It's too closely tied, and so I have to distance myself and hope that I can make those connections on my own and not use that app. I do post everywhere else. I kind of stopped posting as much on X, aka Twitter, but I do post on YouTube. I do post on TikTok. I do post on Facebook and Instagram. But you know where else I post that I don't talk about very much? My website. My website. I devote a lot of time to that pretty little website. And I know nothing about websites. I know nothing about podcasting. I know nothing about editing. It's just, figure it out. I'm just figuring it all out. So I made, I think, a really cool website, and that's where you can find everything that I'm doing, everything Phoebe and I are doing. And it's free, and they can't take me down. Well, it's not free for me. It's free for you. I pay $50 a month for my website, and I haven't even tried to sell anything in the last year. Like, that wasn't my mission. I think now we're getting to the point where, we're going to offer products, and they're good products, and I'm not going to give you anything that's crap. So that's a big deal to me. I'm offering these products that are good for your skin and good for your hair. And then I'm going to turn around and I'm going to use those funds for this podcast to keep this going and to keep, because there's a lot of different fees that are connected to this. And like I've told you a million times before, I am bootstrapping it, everything I pay for. And it's tough. I'm a single mom. So I've got to figure out ways to make that happen. And so far, I've been able to do that. So that's super cool so far. You keep watching, and if you go to my website and subscribe, there may be some cool content out there later. And the first few subscribers, they're a priority. They're a priority to me. I do have a code for you though. If you're listening to Code Green Plant, my solo series, and you hear this, I'm going to give you 10% off of a purchase of my facial serum that comes in two amazing scents, rosebud and beachy vibes. Then we have our beard oil, which you are more than welcome to check out. We have woodsy, orange cedar, cedar leather. Cedar leather is my favorite. It smells so freaking good. And I don't have a man, so I just put it on my hand and go, because it smells that good. I'm not trying to, be an info commercial. That's definitely not my goal. My goal is to get you to the website so that no matter what happens with cannabis, if Instagram decides I'm taking you down, you're talking too much about cannabis and we don't like it, I'm going to have to understand that. And I'm going to have to be gone. And I will have no say-so in them removing us or taking us down. And then where are you guys going to go? You're going to go to my website. Simply Vibin with an N, no G, SIMPLYVIBIN, no G.com. You can find all our stuff there. And I hope you will go check it out. The code that you can put in to get your first purchase is CGP 2023. 10% off your first order. Okay, so now that we covered that, I wanted to kind of circle back and talk about parenting and cannabis. So I pulled up a few things that I figured that we could talk about. What do I got? So I know Trevor had some issues with me outwardly talking about cannabis and the stigma associated with it because of our society. So I went to look and say, what do they have out there to kind of explain this to kids? I pulled up a Yahoo Life article, and it's about some parents use cannabis. Should they discuss it with their kids? Here's what experts say. Well, I'm curious to hear what the experts say about it. Experts share how to address cannabis use without sending the message that it's okay for teens to use the drug too. 100% agree. Absolutely. It's not okay. Your brain needs to be fully formed before you try cannabis. And after it's formed, then we can have a discussion on what works best for you. With states legalizing cannabis, weed moms, quote unquote, so that's a thing now, weed moms, just like wine moms. All right, with more states legalizing cannabis, weed moms are becoming the new wine moms, just like I said. Some parents keep their cannabis use a secret from their children, while others are upfront about it. As a dad who makes glass accessories for using cannabis, Mike tells Yahoo Life he believes transparency is key. However, he's waiting for his children, who are now 5 and 11. He's waiting till they're older, which makes total sense. And he's quoted as saying, "I want them to hear it from me first." But he notes that since some parents of the kid's friends know about his cannabis use, it's possible that someone else may beat him to the punch. Absolutely. Same here, man. I get it. We're on the same vibe. There is little guidance about how, when, or even if parents who use marijuana, legal or otherwise, should tell their children. But experts predict that will change. Hell yeah. That's going to change. That's going to change because I know a lot of parents are afraid CPS is going to come take their kids away because they smoke. I see things are changing. I've done a little research for this episode and I can see the change happening. It's kind of exciting. As cannabis usage becomes increasingly normalized in our society, it will become similar to how we view and use and discuss alcohol, which is exactly how it should be. Except alcohol has toxins in it and cannabis does not. Grinspoon, I guess that's his last name, Grinspoon says he is a big advocate for being open and honest. If parents tell children about their drug use, it makes them a trusted partner and preserves credibility. He adds that being transparent with children can also show some vulnerability and open lines of communication. This is important because later, if they struggle, they will feel comfortable coming to you. And that is exactly what I'm trying to do with my kids. It's exactly it. Trevor and I do have those conversations now. He's 15. He's going to parties in high school. He's being confronted with the choice to use alcohol, the choice to smoke cannabis. All of those things are happening. As everybody knows, it's older than high school age. It's your choices in these times that really dictate your future. So I need to have that conversation with him. And he does come to me. He's like, yeah, there was alcohol there and I had a choice and I chose not to do it. And I was kind of proud of that. I was very proud of that. I was extremely proud of that because as a parent, you just want to keep your kids safe. So when he's ready, he will come to me and talk to me about cannabis because he knows and trusts I'm going to listen and I'm going to share what I know and I'm going to be honest. And he knows that. So I think that's a parent win right there. And I'm glad that this article is out there and it's on Yahoo. So that got me thinking. I'm like, okay, so now we know how to talk to kids, which is honesty. Honesty. They know when you're lying. They're going to go out and try it and do it anyway. You might as well be honest about it, you know? I mean, everybody drinks around their kids. Everybody is at a party and their kids are there and they're drinking a beer, they're watching the game and the kids are watching that. What's the difference? I just want to know. There isn't. Okay? It should be treated the same when it comes to recreational, as alcohol. It can be treated differently when it comes to medical benefits. But as far as recreational use, it is the same as alcohol. I mean, we've already gone into the differences and there are a lot. But as far as the views of alcohol go, cannabis needs the same viewpoint as alcohol. All right, so then I started thinking, well, I'm already going down this line, so I might as well head down another one, which is, can parents use it against each other in a custody battle for kids? Because you know they do. They are pulling out everything they can think of to either win more custody of visitation or that they're pulling it out left and right. They want to see their kid more, which I respect. And honestly, if parents are fighting to see their kids and have more visitation, there's no harm in that. It's the fighting that in front of the kids that there is harm with. So hey, fight for your kid. I mean, yeah, the child is not going to look at that as a bad thing. They're only going to look at it as a bad thing as if you are harming the other parent by your words, by your actions. All of that will change the child's perception. But you in court saying, I want to see my kid more, is not going to change your child's perception, which comes down to fighting in court and saying they smoke weed, they're a druggie, they're a drug addict, I need my kid more. That's kind of fighting dirty because I think that they really know it's not, unless they think it does and they think it is bad. And that's a whole different conversation for a different day. But I pulled up an article about how legal marijuana impacts child custody. Many Texas courts consider marijuana use a serious endangerment to the child, regardless of the laws of the other states, even though it's just a little weed. Weed is still illegal here, and the family courts don't like it. Many Texas family courts draw no distinction between marijuana and hard drugs. That's the first thing that popped up. The very first thing. That's not a good sign. Now, this was written, it'll be a year next month, so it's a year old, and I think that this is a fluid situation, so I'll get to that in a second. Goldberg Jones, I believe this is an attorney's website that I found it on, and the title is How Legal Marijuana Impacts Child Custody, and written in December 2022. It took a few tries, but Oregon legalized marijuana in 2014 when a statewide vote approved ballot measure 91. I didn't know it was 2014. That's a long ass time ago, which means they should have their shit together when it comes to this stuff. I hope this is a positive article. This has been great for business, taxes, criminal proceedings, and general fun and games. It opened up a metaphorical can of worms, however, from a legal perspective. Many areas felt the impact, including family law. It's helpful to pause and ask how marijuana impacts child custody. Can you lose custody of your child for smoking weed? What about vaping? What about edibles? I'm assuming you can kind of put them all together. I don't think you need to differentiate between the three. It's cannabis, period. Even as more and more states vote for legalization, marijuana remains illegal on a federal level. We already know this because we here at this podcast are educated. Can you lose custody of your child for smoking weed? I know they're going to tell me somewhere. Even years down the road, this remains largely uncharted territory. As a result, there's a ton of misinformation when it comes to how legal marijuana impacts child custody battles, at least when it comes to statistics and hard numbers. What we do have to go on is an ever-increasing pool of anecdotal evidence from around the country. We hear horror stories of parents losing custody of their children for growing a handful of legal plants. Or Child Protective Services pays a visit because one parent picked up a medical marijuana card. If you're a parent who indulges, it's in your best interest to know how marijuana use, legal or otherwise, may impact your custody situation in divorce or separation. How does the court view cannabis? On a purely academic level, legal marijuana impacts child custody similarly to alcohol consumption. As you're probably aware, however, the courts don't always treat the two substances the same way. There's a wide variance when it comes to how these cases play out. You may encounter a judge who's sympathetic to your plight, but it's entirely possible you'll pull one with more of a hard line stance. Yeah, that's a gamble. You hope that you get the one that's like, okay, it's cannabis. But you may get the one that says cannabis is considered an illegal drug and you're a drug addict. Therefore, you don't deserve custody of your child. It is going to your spouse, your ex-spouse. Depending on the players, the results can swing widely from one case to another. Right or wrong, the public perception of the pot smoker often remains the image of a stoner slumped on a couch, chowing down on a bag of chili cheese Fritos, swigging Mountain Dew, engulfed by a cloud of smoke. Especially as federal law still views marijuana as a Schedule I drug, the same category as heroin and LSD. Put that in your pipe and smoke it. Friggin' weed is categorized like heroin and LSD. Yeah, it's I can't even, my rational brain cannot comprehend that. I still have trouble with that. Marijuana use may have zero impact on your ability to care for and protect your children, but it can still play a part on who gets custody. That's some scary shit. I will say this to not only protect myself, to protect my son, to protect my family. I do cannabis when I am in legal states. What I do now and what I'm currently doing and hope to sell soon is hemp derived. It's all hemp derived. So, got to put that out there because I'm a single mom. It's hemp derived. Got to protect myself. It truly is hemp derived though. I mean, that's true. That's absolutely true. So we got that across. I would be very careful if you are going through a custody battle, especially if you're in a state that does not have it recreationally. You do not have a medical cannabis card. Be careful. I actually, now that I think about it, I had somebody comment on my Facebook page about that. I will pull that up for next week's episode and we will circle back on that, where I tell you about a mother that talks about losing custody. In my messages, in the comment section of that video that I posted on Simply Vibin LLC Facebook. Oh, it's so scary. So scary. You got to be careful. You got to be safe. You got to make sure you can keep your kids because they're not better without you. Just because you smoke cannabis or take an edible or vape, they need you. So be smart, my fellow parents. Be smart. So what I thought would be a cool idea is I typed in CPS takes child because of cannabis. I wanted to see what would pull up in the years that it would pull up. So I'm going to read a few headlines. So this shows that we're on our path to changing the stigma and the laws around it. All right, so the first headline is Baltimore banner. New law says state can't take kids away solely for parents' cannabis use. Okay, that's a win. And that was 2023. New York settles with mom in marijuana use case. September 2023. That's a win. She smoked weed legally, then gave birth. New York took her baby. I don't know if that's a win or not, but I don't know how I feel about that. I'm not sure. There's not enough studies out there yet that I'm aware of. And maybe there are. I have not looked into it. Maybe it's something we look into together. But I don't know how smoking cannabis affects an unborn baby that you're carrying. I do not know that. So, based on my own narrow perception of the things that society taught me, my first reaction is to say, don't do that. That's not okay. That's an unborn baby. But I have heard that there are studies that some parents, some mothers carrying, have trouble with carrying a baby. There are studies that show that it can assist a pregnant mother. And they have high-risk pregnancies, and it can assist in those situations. I don't have case studies, so I don't want to say this 100% because I don't have the facts right now to back that up, but I have heard, and that is all I'm going to say, is I have heard that it can help pregnant mothers and assist them in certain situations. There's two sides to it. I don't know the right one at this point, but we will dig at a later time. New York Post, how newborns are becoming victims of legalized marijuana use. Okay, so that's definitely negative. And that was May 2023. AZ Central, AZ Supreme Court, medical marijuana use in pregnancy, not child neglect. That's a win. Dallas Morning News, House advances bill making it harder for CBS to remove Texas youth from their families in 2021. I just read that. That's a win. California governor signs child welfare bill treating parental marijuana use just like alcohol. That's a win, and that was in 2022. ABC News, Washington parents using marijuana accused of child abuse. That was 2015. Of course they were. Normal, one of my favorite organizations. Absolutely, I'm a member. Maryland governor signs legal protections law for parents who consume cannabis. That's a win. WWMT, no change on how Child Protective Services handles parent marijuana use. That's in 2018. Syracuse.com, good moms and dads sometimes smell like weed. How the marijuana stigma nearly destroyed one of our New York mothers. That's a loss. That's 2022. State seizes 2-year-old child from parents because they smoked pot. Child dies in foster care. 2013. That is horrific. Absolutely horrific. Contemporary OBGYN. Impact of cannabis legalization on parental marijuana use. 2023. Mother pleads for change. This is KXII. Mother pleads for change after daughter taken away from medical marijuana use. That's 2022, and that's a loss. California's new child welfare law goes into force. Here's what cannabis using parents need to know. CPS reforms have reduced caseloads and focused the agency on abuse. Dallas Morning News. So as you can see, these are the hot headlines that are out there whenever I type that in. So I feel like most of them were good. Most of them were positive. Like, I try not to even open things that are not 2023. And that's because it's so fluid and it's constantly changing that I'm not looking backwards. I'm not looking backwards. If I see an article that says child taken away by CPS because of a parent smoking weed, that's a big deal in 2023. That's a big deal. And that's something that I will cover. But I need to see that it's this year. It's happening right now. Because I can probably pull up 1 million headlines that say all the people that were arrested, all the custody battles that were lost because of cannabis prior to, I'm going to say, 2022. Oh, I had one more thing to talk about. I've had a few Simply Vibin' channels, and I lost the password on one of them. And so that one of them is in TikTok. And I sent you guys to it in my last episode. I said, Simply Vibin' LLC on TikTok. Well, yeah, it exists. It absolutely exists, but I can't get into it anymore. So if you go and you follow me, you leave a comment, I can comment to you from my own page, but I can't get in there. I can't make more videos. I can't do anything else. It's just this archive that lives in the universe of TikTok. My actual Simply Vibin' TikTok is Simply Vibin' with an N, 00. That's how you find me on TikTok for Simply Vibin'. So I wanted to clear that up for you. But anyway, I am so appreciative that you are here, that you're still listening to me ramble. Sometimes I've got really genius things to talk about, and sometimes I'm kind of all over the place. But the fact that you're still here, you're still listening, I think I might be doing something right. Well, I hope, I hope. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Wherever you're hearing or seeing this, thank you. Remember to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, go and click the bell, go and click the plus sign to follow and get reminded when we're there if you're listening on a podcast. Yeah, there's so many places to find us. I said I was going to highlight a different area each episode. So today I'm going to highlight YouTube. Okay? I love YouTube. I watch it all the time, especially for my Dallas Cowboy content. That's basically where I get all my news about the Dallas Cowboys. So you can find me on YouTube, Code Green Plant. It's going to have my solo episodes, and it's also going to have the OG Code Green Plant with Phoebe and I. All episodes are uploaded the same day as the podcast. So you can listen there, you can watch there. Also, I have another channel, which is Simply Vibin' 7292. So you can find a lot of older content there before I had Code Green Plant. And I hope you'll support us. I look forward to talking to you next Friday. You can also see Phoebe and I next Wednesday. I hope you'll listen. Talk to you soon. Bye now.
Welcome to the podcast where we talk about cannabis.
Community violation. Code Green Plant.